In this lesson, we're going to learn how to customize the interface of Unreal Engine 4. Alright, so let's go ahead and learn about customizing the interface, because as you can see, there are lots of different tabs and we can resize areas and things like that. And I'm going to show you how we can do that. First thing that we want to do is we want to learn how to dock dock windows. So for example, you can see here that we have our modes and our content browser, and they're kind of in this little area here on the left side. And you can see that we have these tabs. And what I can do is I can left click on these tabs and I can drag those into other areas. So for example, let's say that I wanted modes to be on the bottom here. Whenever we're dragging around an area, you'll see that we have this white box that is broken up into 5 different quadrants. Okay, we have this middle section here that if we were to let go of the left mouse button right here in the middle, it will create what's called a floating window. Okay, and what that does is it breaks off our modes tab and puts it into this window that we can resize, and we can position it anywhere on our interface that we want. We could even put it on another screen. Now if I left click on that tab again and I start to drag around, notice that if I go to the top quadrant here, that will basically dock that at the top of this little space. I could dock it to the left, to the right, and even at the bottom. So if I wanted to put it here at the bottom, I'll simply drop it right there. Alright, let's go ahead and put that back at the top. So let's left click on that tab. You'll see that little white box that comes up with the quadrants. Drop that in the top quadrant right there in this little shape here. Okay, and that will put that right at the top above our content browser. Now we also have the ability to take certain tabs and put them in the tab bar. Now we've already seen that with blueprints, but what I want to do is I want to take my content browser and I'm going to put that right up here on a new tab. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me more room to work with my modes panel and then go to my content browser and bring those items in from the content browser into our levels. Okay, that's just going to create a little bit more room for us. Now we also have the ability to resize different areas of the windows, and you can see these dark lines that separate the different panels. And what we could do is simply hover over that and then left click and drag what direction we want to resize that to. So in this case, if I wanted to show all of my modes panel, including all of the geometry editing tools, okay, I'll just simply move that over until that appears. Okay. Now we can do that with any window. We can make adjustments to that. Now for this one, you'll notice that it's not allowing me to make adjustments to that, and that's because it's trying to fit a certain size. Okay, the viewport is going to stay that way. Now let's go ahead and left click on this corner right here. If we do that, you'll see that viewport 1 shows up. Okay, and what I can do now is I can dock multiple viewports in this if I wanted to. Now this tab can get in the way, okay, because the viewport is going to stay right here. So what I want to do is I want to hide that tab. I don't really want to move the viewport around, but what I can do is simply right click on that and hide tab, and you'll notice that little yellow triangle comes back. That's basically locking this part of the interface into place. Now the toolbar, if I wanted to remove that, move that around, I could also left click on that triangle, or if I like it where it's at, I'm just going to simply right click and hide tab. Perfect. Now on the right side, we have the scene outliner, the details, everything's looking good there. Pretty happy with the way that looks. Now, if there are some areas or some parts of the interface that are missing, so for example, let's say that we accidentally hit close on our scene outliner. How do we get that back? Well, we'll simply go to Window, and then here you can see Scene Outliner. Left click on that, and it's going to dock it in its last known position. Okay. Now we also have our details. That's just fine right there. We could come in and we could simply right click and hide all of these tabs just to give ourselves a little bit more room, because I'm going to be locking all of these down. I'm not going to be moving those around as we go. Okay, but even if they are locked down like this, you can still resize their areas, so nothing wrong with that. Okay, so now let's talk about our preferences. There may be instances where we want to change something about our interface. So for example, a way to do that, we can go to Edit and then Editor Preferences. Here you have lots of different preferences that you can play around with. We're going to be staying with the default settings, but I do want to make sure that you know about this. So for example, under Appearance, if we wanted to say, let's not have such large icons, let's make those smaller. We can simply left-click on that, and that will check that, making those small icons. Now, as you hover over those, it will tell you what that button is, but it will not give you the description like the large icons. But you're more than welcome to use that if you like. You could also enable windows that are animated. Okay, just kind of makes it a little more flashy. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn that small toolbar and leave the window animations turned off. All right. You also have the ability to take a look at more of those options by left-clicking on this little arrow at the bottom of some of those menus, and that will expand that menu section. Okay. You can go through, take a look at your keyboard shortcuts, your loading and saving. The loading and saving has things like the autosave. Okay. Autosave is enabled, and it's going to save every 10 minutes, and it will give us a warning letting us know that we're about to autosave our level, and it's going to last for 10 seconds before it autosaves. You're more than welcome to turn those on or off if you like, but I'm going to leave those on. Now, we have things like miscellaneous. You can take a look at those. I would be really careful about changing some of these preferences until you're more comfortable with the interface. So if you're brand new to Unreal Engine 4, go ahead and leave it at default because that's where we're going to be working. All right, let's go ahead and close down our editor preferences. So I'm just going to simply close that window down, and there we go. So now we've talked about customizing the interface. Very easy to do, very easy to dock new windows, to make floating windows, move those around, and to work in a space that works best for you. Now, what happens if you want to save your layout? Now, Unreal Engine 4 will go ahead and keep that default layout for you. So whatever you leave it at, whenever you close it, it should save that. But we can manually save it if we want. We could do that by going to Window and then Save Layout. Hitting that's going to save that, and then it ensures that it's going to open up like this every single time, whenever we close it and bring it up. All right. So now that we've talked about customization, let's go ahead and start talking about viewport navigation, getting in and moving around in our level, being able to see different angles of our objects that are in the level. We'll get started with that next.